And welcome back to Let's Play Metroid Prime. Last time we got the remaining collectibles in the entire game, and this time we're about to return the artifacts to the Impact Crater Temple. Except first we have to fight Ridley before we can actually go to the Impact Crater. Ridley is an interesting fight. Genetically enhanced Ridley metaform, reborn and evolved through pirate technology, Ridley is a fearsome enforcer. Its armored hide is extremely resilient save for the chest, which has thinner plating. The pirates have fused a number of potent weapons to the creature, including a multi-missile system, a kinetic breath weapon, blah 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 blah. So yeah, basically what you want to do is aim for its chest and then launch super missiles at it. That's my strat, at least. In the GameCube version, to my knowledge, this is actually the glitchiest fight in the entire game. Good and bad. Which is unusual to have such a weird mix of, yes, this glitch can help you, but also there's this glitch that can totally mess you up. Hardcore. Apparently there's a thing where he'll sometimes drop down, and if you time it just right apparently, and boost ball into him a few times, you can actually skip to the second phase of the fight prematurely. Now I don't know if this is actually true or not, or if it even applies to the NCTC, whatever the region code is. But that's interesting to note. I'm obviously not able to take advantage of it on the trilogy version, but hey, if you're on GameCube, you might want to try it out. I'm not sure what the timing is or anything, I've just heard about it. In addition, there are actually some bugs that can hurt you. Apparently there's also a quick kill strat that I don't know if it works in the Wii version. Apparently it involves using the Wave Buster. I'm going to try to use the Wave Buster. I don't guarantee it'll actually kill him though, because they might have patched that out of the Wii version. There's also a bug, apparently, where sometimes Ridley doesn't take damage from anything, and thus is actually considered a soft lock. Apparently speedrunners for marathons will occasionally save right before Ridley, not because they don't feel like they can do the fight, but because that glitch, that soft lock, basically can really screw you up if you're not careful in a speedrun. For like a charity marathon, something like AGDQ, obviously they'd have to take the safe strat and not just risk basically sacrifice a good run just to complete it effectively, which is a shame. I can see why that would be kind of frustrating, but again, for a charity marathon you want to have the best run possible with the fewest shenanigans, so yeah, it's just kind of something interesting to note. Also, do not worry about missiles, because we will have an opportunity to get more missiles before the final boss. So go all out with missiles. What other tips do I have? Well, Ridley is actually an interesting character from the fact that, well, I'm not sure how they explain him being organic in Super Metroid. Spoiler, I guess, for a 25-year-old game that's way more iconic and better selling than this. But yeah, for some reason, Ridley is normal in the other game. So how does he become non-Ridley? I don't actually know. Now, one thing I discovered, because I did 2 practice runs of the end game because I wasn't feeling particularly confident because reasons I'll get into shortly, that cutscene will not play sometimes if you actually weaken him when he's on the ground. I'm gonna try the quick kill. I don't know if it'll even work in this version, but apparently if I was using the Wave Buster, I missed the timing slightly, but yeah, you can hit him in the mouth when he's about to charge at you. There we go. Basically shoot him in the mouth, and I'll stagger him. And apparently if you use the Wave Buster, that can be a quick kill, but that did not seem to do anything. So they must have patched that out of the Wii version, which I have no objections to. I mean, I wasn't thinking it would work in this. It's obviously a major oversight. Charge beams are your best bet, but of course because he's so mobile, landing a charge beam is not the easiest thing in the world to do. As he opens his mouth very briefly most of the time. And also with the manual lock-on, it can also bug out in terms of missing slightly because it's not exactly aimed perfectly. Now I don't know if this actually is a legitimate thing, but I find that because there is that weird bug, I personally find that switching up weapons actually reduces the chances of him going through periods of invincibility. I don't know if this is actually a solution, but I personally have found that it does occasionally work. Yeah, so maybe we need to switch up weapons. And if it happens, I'll just cut to the end of the fight, because again, apparently the glitch is pretty random. I personally ran into something similar to it, where a majority of weapons weren't working on him, until suddenly I was able to damage him again. It was really bizarre, and I don't know what caused it. But knowing it's a glitch, and that can happen at any time, that's kind of nerve-wracking. But yeah, I find personally that swapping beams out regularly is the best way to limit the chances of it, but it still happens occasionally nonetheless. So I'm going to switch to Ice now, or Power, because that's the one I accidentally selected. Might as well go with Power, because that's one I have. But again, there is a quick kill strat, it's like a minute long or something, if you're playing on GameCube, but we are playing on Wii, so we're kind of out of luck in that regard. Also, don't worry about health, because we have a chance to get health back before the final boss. When he starts turning, that really means you don't have much of an opportunity to actually hit him. That wasn't enough, okay. When he's doing this phase, actually spamming works okay. Because his mouth is open for such a short period of time that charging up isn't that reliable, so just spamming works okay. Okay. That's not good. So now we're basically entering a third phase of sorts. It's basically the second phase, but I think his attacks are faster. I guess not, because my timing was still off. Maybe it is a little faster. I think he might be. This is the worst attack, by the way, because he really has few periods of vulnerability with this particular attack. He has a lot more generous opportunities to be hit with all of his other attacks, in my opinion at least. Let's see if this works. That did. Sweet. So that means only one more hit. So I'm gonna switch to Ice Beam. I have no clue if this is just the Pokemon mashing Y thing in Metroid form, but or mashing A in Metroid form. But it makes me feel better to switch beams periodically. Again, it might just be me being superstitious, but yeah, I like to switch out beams. But again, what I'm referring to is in Pokemon how, okay, we're done. But in Pokemon, there's that urban legend that if you press like A, B, start or something in time with the button presses, not all together because I think that would reset the game. But if you press them like in sequence, every time the Pokeball shakes, it increases your chances of catching. That's an urban legend, doesn't actually work. And that opens up the portal to the impact crater. Now, just saying, I kind of wish all the Chozo ghosts could be that helpful and not be trying to kill us. Just saying. It would be a little bit nice not having to worry about them. Well, right off the bat, we can't go back at any time, so we're not locked in. We have a save point. Now, I need to actually acknowledge something. Actually, I forgot to look this up off screen, but I'm fairly certain the difficulty I chose was normal. Right? Well, wrong. Because normal in this game, I think, is easy mode. Veteran, I think, is actually the equivalent of not hard mode, the normal mode in the first GameCube release. So yeah, I'm actually not playing on what would be the default difficulty of the original game. I'm playing on a slightly lower difficulty. So the fact that on my practice runs, I had a relatively easy time with the final boss is completely explained by the fact that I was playing on the wrong difficulty all along. Hello, Fission Metroid. There'll be a lot of Fission Metroids hanging around here. My advice would be ignore them because you'll probably end up losing more energy fighting them than just shaking them off and running, oddly enough. Also, I don't think I ever scanned the missile refill, but you can also scan the save points as well. And missiles fully replenished. Back to 250, and away we go. So now we have to go left here. Can we scan these? Apparently not. Apparently there's also some other type of Metroid you can encounter in certain versions of the game. I think it's called like a Hunter Metroid in like the PAL versions, I think. Which is kind of odd having like a exclusive type of Metroid of sorts. So here we have this little brief survival room. This is apparently the smallest like area in the game. It's only like 5 to 7 rooms, I want to say, if I had to guess. Mostly, we go through a lot of rooms through the final boss. Spoiler, mild spoiler, we don't fight him or her, whatever gender you want to call this next boss, in one room. Meet our final boss, who completely turned tail and ran. Okay. This is the Metroid Prime, the title character of the game. Kind of weird finding it so late into the process, but okay. Basically only its head is vulnerable, the thing you see on the right. It looks oddly human, actually, the face. It's actually really creepy. But basically, this boss will change color depending on what its weakness is, which is a really bad biological flaw of it, I would have to say. One super missile actually is enough to force it to switch to phase 2 of sorts. Not really phase 2, but like cycle 2. When he staggers, at least early on, when he starts staggering, that's basically a sign that you're gonna have to switch weapons. It's also a sign of something else later on, but that's a story for a little bit later. By the way, again, this is not on the normal mode, so when I did my practice run, I was like, man, this is easier than I remember. A child me must have been awful at this game. Yeah, so that's why. It's not that I'm necessarily that much better than my past self, it's just that I'm playing on a much lower difficulty. So, whoops. And this isn't hyper mode. I think what was veteran in the original was renamed hyper mode. which is unlocked post-game, but more on that a little bit later. I'll go over all the differences in hyper mode in a separate little video, I think. I should super missile. What the heck am I doing? So at this phase onwards, you actually have to go into these little tunnels because once it actually drops color, it will actually charge at you. Now note that I am saying when it's when it loses its color, that it charges at you, not whenever you do enough damage to stagger it, because actually it will occasionally start charging on its own in later phases. It will also start changing phases on its own later on, so this fight is rather gradual in terms of difficulty increase. On the whole, I don't know how much I can actually say about the game's difficulty because, again, this is effectively easy mode. But I remember it. Wow, that was fast. I remember it being a little bit more challenging to the point of actually getting a game over a lot on this fight. Specifically, the first time I did this fight, I got a lot of game overs. I actually don't know how to deal with this attack, to be honest. That beam pulling you in kind of thing, I don't know how to deal with that at all, so you're out of luck in terms of strategies to avoiding that. Yeah, this is a cool boss. One issue I have with it is, I feel like it may have just a bit too much health. Now that's a very minor nitpick I'll fully concede, but at least on easy mode, the boss isn't difficult at all. The boss is just tedious because it just has so many phases to it. So that's a slight nitpick I have, actually. That, not that the final boss is bad, but at least on easy mode, because its attacks do so little damage, it's just not much of a threat. It may have too much health for how much damage it outputs. But again, that's just personal preference, and again, kind of nitpicky. On the whole, this is actually a really good final boss. I remember it very... I don't know if I should say fondly, because I don't remember it particularly fondly, but I remember it being a good final boss, and I can distinguish between the two. Same with Super Mario Sunshine. I can admit that was certain parts of that game are well designed, even if I kind of loathe them in terms of execution and actually playing it. So now we've reached the bottom, I think. And if I'm not mistaken, this is when he starts changing, or it starts changing forms on its own. Which really is a good way to throw you off. Let's see if that's actually the case. It might be the next floor, because it's not doing it. Or maybe I'm just... Oh, there we go. But yeah, the little energy balls he shoots at you do contain power-ups. So if you're ever low on power-ups, missiles, whatever, you can get more if you play the waiting game enough. Should only take about 10 more hits, I would say. And maybe that's... Oh, okay. By the way, going into the neck... I'm not gonna say anything more, actually. I'm gonna wait. And that's another hit down. Oh, wait. I forgot he did that. Or it did that. I don't know what gender this is supposed to be. Or what gender Metroids are supposed to be in the first place. So I shouldn't say he... It's probably a she, actually, being the, you know, the Metroid Prime. So like the Queen Metroid in a game that hasn't been Let's Played on this channel yet. And there... Oh, it's being a jerk, isn't it? Okay, that was interesting. Oh wow, we are actually at time, so I am going to be a jerk actually with this, and I think because the next part can take a little bit of time, plus we have all the credits and cutscenes to get through, I think we're actually going to leave saved efforts on video, just because of recording reasons. So in any case, thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next time for more Metroid Prime, the finale a Metroid Prime.